The year was 2847. An ancient council, one that had never, in recorded history, fallen silent, went quiet for first time. Representatives of the 7 most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, beings who commanded weapons capable of extinguishing a star in seconds, who could bend time itself, who could empty entire galaxies of life, had gathered to discuss one small, insignificant, dust-blue world. Earth, humanity, a species that, by cosmic standards, had almost nothing. No antimatter engines, no dimensional ships, not a single weapon that could so much as scratch a star. And yet, the oldest and most powerful member of that council, a being whose existence spanned millions of years, rose to its feet and spoke a sentence that would echo across the entire galaxy. We have seen their weapons. They are nothing, but they made a promise, and they kept it. If we ignore what that means, it will be the single greatest cause of our downfall. Silence swallowed the room, because in this galaxy, where empires collapsed, alliances curdled into betrayal, and even the mightiest species let their words dissolve into nothing, humanity had done something no one had ever seen before. They kept their word, at any cost. And that was the exact thing about to shake the entire universe. If you want to understand how a promise can become more dangerous than an empire's weapons, stay until the end, because the turn this story takes will change how you think. This story begins roughly 100 years from now. Humanity had finally learned to travel between the stars, not because it possessed some secret technology, but because humans never truly knew how to quit. Every failure was followed by another attempt, and then another. When the first human ship, Horizon 1, crossed beyond the edge of the solar system, it found something no one had expected. An extraterrestrial civilization, which humans would later call the Council, was already there, waiting, having governed the laws of the galaxy for thousands of years. The Council's rule was simple. Any new species that stepped into space would first be assessed. Were they a threat? Were they useful? Should they be erased, enslaved, or merely tolerated? For humanity, the verdict came fast. Council warships, their technology 1,000 years ahead of anything Earth had built, surrounded Horizon 1. In an instant, that small vessel, humanity's proudest achievement, looked like a child's toy. The Council's negotiator, a being humans would later name Xeron, sent a simple message. You are weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology lags behind us by millennia. Give me one reason why we shouldn't end you right now. The captain of Horizon 1, a woman named Captain Elena Reese, gave the answer that would change history. We don't have anything like your weapons, but we have something you've probably never seen. We keep our word. Give us a chance. We'll prove it, and if we fail, do whatever you want. To Xeron, the words meant nothing. In the Council's history, every treaty, every promise, eventually broke. Sooner or later, power was the only currency they trusted. Still, driven by a strange curiosity, Xeron set a condition, one he was certain would break humanity instantly. The condition was simple and cruelly difficult. The Council had been watching a disputed planet, Vera 9, where 2 native species had been locked in war for centuries. The Council had tried to intervene multiple times and failed every time, because neither side trusted any agreement enough to honor it. Xeron told Captain Reese, "If you truly are what you claim to be, go and bring peace to Vera 9. You have 30 days. If you promise and fail to deliver, we will teach your entire species exactly what broken promises cost." It was a trap. Xeron knew that no diplomat, however brilliant, could end a centuries-old war in 30 days. He simply wanted to watch how quickly humans would abandon their own words. Captain Reese returned to Earth, assembled a small team, diplomats, psychologists, historians, and landed on Vera 9. They did something the Council had never done. They gave both sides equal time. They promised neutrality and meant it. They made small promises, clean water, medical aid, safe passage, and every single one, no matter how small, was delivered exactly on time. When one tribal leader voiced his doubt and said, "You'll lie to us just like everyone else has," Captain Reese simply answered, "Give me one chance. If I lie even once, never trust me again." On the 28th day, the impossible happened. For the first time in 300 years, both sides signed a temporary ceasefire. Not because the council forced it, but because they had watched someone keep every single promise, no matter how small. Xeron read the report, and for the first time in millions of years, he felt something his species called fear. Xeron delivered the news to the council, and the reaction was startling. One member, a being named Maltese, whose species had been shattered by civil war thousands of years earlier, stood and said, "You don't understand. This isn't about technology. Our entire civilization, 7 great species, thousands of smaller ones, runs on the principle that no agreement is ever truly final. Every alliance is temporary. Every promise is a strategy, one that shifts the moment it stops being convenient. That system has kept us safe, because everyone knows no one can be fully trusted, so no one can be fully betrayed either." Maltese continued, his voice edged with unmistakable concern. "But a species exists that genuinely keeps its word, a species that always tells the truth, always honors its promises. It will become the most dangerous power in this galaxy, because everyone will trust it, and there is no weapon greater than trust. With trust, you can raise armies without fighting a single war. With trust, you can build empires without firing a single shot." This was the moment the council understood. Humanity was not an ordinary threat. Another member, Corin, whose species had run trading empires for centuries, added something even more unsettling. Think about it. If every species, every planet, learns that a human promise never breaks, who will they choose to ally with? Us, who always break our word the moment it benefits us. Or them, who will die before they go back on theirs? Silence fell over the room, because everyone already knew the answer. The council decided on a harsher test, one designed to force humanity into breaking its own promise. They offered Captain Reese a new agreement. Earth would be brought under the council protection, given technology, given resources, on the condition that humans promised never to raise weapons against another species, no matter what happened. It was a trap. The council had already secretly incited a rebel faction, the Void Coalition, to attack Earth. The plan was simple. If humans broke their promise and defended themselves, the council would prove human promises were as hollow as everyone else's. And if humans kept their promise instead, they would be wiped out, and the problem would solve itself. Speaking for all of humanity, Captain Reese made that promise. 6 months later, the Void Coalition attacked. Their ships tore into Earth's orbit, targeting cities. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Across the planet, people demanded their governments use every weapon they had, strike back, save themselves. But Captain Reese, by then humanity's leading voice, made a decision that shook the entire galaxy. She ordered her forces to defend only, raise shields, save lives, protect cities, but never fire a single offensive weapon, never strike back. The cost was devastating. Thousands of humans died. Several cities were destroyed. But humanity did not break its promise. When Xeron and Maltese watched this unfold, the fear inside them hardened into certainty. Maltese stood before the council and said, "We tried to break them. We gave them every reason any species would need to abandon a promise, their own survival, their children's lives, their annihilation. And still, they did not break their word." Corin added, his voice now unmistakably afraid, "This is no longer a test. It's proven, if this spreads across the galaxy, that a species exists willing to sacrifice its own lives rather than break a promise. Every small species, every oppressed planet, every nation that has been betrayed by us for centuries will turn to humanity. And our entire empire, built on deception and mistrust, will crumble like sand." At that exact moment, a message from Captain Reese reached the council. No threats, no ultimatums, just this: "We kept our promise. The cost was heavy, but we kept it. The question now isn't whether you trust us. The question is any other species in this galaxy willing to do the same? If not, perhaps it's time you reconsidered everything you stand for." Those words echoed across the galaxy. One by one, smaller species, long victimized by the great powers' broken deals, began reaching out to humanity, not because of weapons, not because of technology, but because of the rarest thing in the entire universe: trust. The council realized they had given birth to a power they could neither stop nor defeat. Because you cannot defeat with weapons something whose entire foundation is built on words and loyalty. Over the following years, the map of the galaxy was redrawn. Species that had once been betrayed by the Council again and again were now forming new agreements with humanity. Agreements that were actually honored. Small worlds that had been crushed for centuries between rival empires became part of a new system, one where the value of a word outweighed the value of a weapon. Zuran, who had once looked down on humanity, finally met with Captain Reese and asked a question that had haunted him for months. Why did you endure such loss? You could have saved your people. You could have broken your promise, and no one would have blamed you. Captain Reese gave an answer that will be written into history. A promise that's only kept when it's easy isn't a promise. It's a convenience. We've learned that real power isn't found in weapons. It's found in standing by your word, even in the hardest moment. That is what makes humanity, for all its flaws, unbreakable. This story isn't just science fiction. It's a metaphor for what real power actually is. Nations with the most powerful weapons have risen and fallen throughout history. But the ones who kept their word, no matter the cost, are the ones history never forgets. So the next time you make a promise, small or large, remember, it's never just words. It's the truest test of your strength. Because as this story showed, even the greatest powers in the galaxy don't fear weapons. They fear the person, the nation, the species that stands by its word, no matter how hard things get. If this story made you think about what real power actually means, drop a comment below and tell me, do you believe humanity's greatest strength is really its loyalty and trustworthiness? Like this video so it reaches more people. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, because in the next story, we're heading into another world where one more human trait ends up shaking the entire universe. And remember, the galaxy doesn't fear human weapons. It fears human promises, because weapons run out. But a promise that's kept never does.